guys, what's up? I'm the Horror Flick Chicks here for another episode of the Horror Flick Chicks podcast. I'm Sonia, and Sandra and Angie are with me.
Hey guys.
Hi, friends.
Hi. So today we thought we'd get into this new HBO series, The Last of Us. And we already know that episodes 1 and 2 are out. So we're gonna talk about episodes 1 and 2 today. And episodes so the show is based on a video game that I haven't played, and it's safe to say that Sandra and Angie have not
We should let everyone know that
we're not gamers.
This. Yeah, we are not gamers, and this kind of it's not a review, it's overview.
The discussion of this show is just based on it being a horror show and something cool and everything. So we're basing it on that, not on the game. I will give some tidbits and things about the game because my husband does play it and I have seen him play it. So I kind of know.
Oh, I was wondering that.
Yeah, so I know a few people who do play the game as well, and I know that a lot of folks who have play the game are very happy with the show. Everybody seems to really, really enjoy this, and there's like very similar, things going on, and there's like very slight comparisons. And what I've heard so far is nothing but good stuff. So we're coming from just a point of view of just watching the show, as horror fans. So that should be noted. But I do want to say that this is becoming not necessarily a new thing, but it's becoming more popular to do shows about games. So just like off the top of, when I was thinking about games that became like shows or movies, Silent Hill, of course, is one of them. Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed, Max Payne, Lara Croft, one of my favorites ever, Sonic the Hedgehog,
Super Mario Brothers,
yeah.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah. So this, I just want to give a big up to gamers and game developers, because it's so amazing the work that game developers do, just all the artwork, and every single scene. If you look at games now, just amazing work. Every single scene is.
And this particular show or game is very, if you actually watched someone play it, it's very detailed. The scenery, the actors in the game,
right,
they're very detailed, and everything is very particular. Everything is put in a certain place for a certain reason, and they do a really good job. And it did translate very well into the show, I think. And from what I've heard and from what I've been told so far, the storyline is right on point, just like the game. Just like the game.
Good. That's good to know. I did see a couple of clips that people posted up on social media comparing the video game and the show, and it's crazy how it's pretty much identical, even to the dialogue.
Right. And to be honest with you, watching the show makes me want to play the game.
I was thinking about that too.
These certain scenes is just makes you feel ooh, imagine you were playing this and you have to. And so
it's a very intense game, and if unless you're a super pro gamer, it'll take you a while to finish it because it's a long game. And there's a lot of, you have to get to certain, you have to collect things, get to a certain spot, and then from that spot you go to the next. And so it's a lot. And they even made a kind of a part 2 or something of the game where it extended the first original game that came out. So they made it longer scenes and longer things. So it's very, very popular. And just based on the first episode, we saw the main character with his daughter, living.
Joel.
yeah, living a normal life, and with single father and with a job, and she's in school and everything. And then we won't go detail to detail within that first episode, but they get to the point where things are starting to happen, people are starting to turn to get infected, and they have to get
very quickly.
Yeah, and they have to get out of the city, right? So they try to make their way, and they have to like kill people, and they have to like bum rush through some people to get out. And turns out, right, ends up that while trying to get escape, the daughter gets shot and she dies. And from what I've been told, that's because that's the same thing that happened in the game. And apparently that's the saddest scene in video game history, like that people have said. And
Yeah.
And it was really sad.
It was very sad.
Yeah. And I didn't know what was going to happen, obviously, because I didn't
right
play the game or even watch the game like that. But I was watching it with my husband, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is just like what happened in the." And they did it like
all the gamers were like, having
like kind of reliving it. So.
PTSD.
I kind of like that. I was going into this blind, like meaning I haven't played the game because I don't know what's happening. But I think it's actually nice, Sonia, that you have somebody that you watch it with that can actually tell you, oh yeah, that's good because that's exactly how it was. Or
he's trying, and he wants to tell me, he was going to say some more things after the second episode. He was starting to talk about something, and I said what, and I said and I asked the question, but he said no, I'm not going to say anything else because they'll probably show it.
They'll give away.
Like, oh, okay. I didn't know he was going to give away stuff because I don't know what they're going to put in the show.
Right.
So we don't know. But if it's going to be like what they have in the game, then yeah, whatever he's going to say is probably going to be in the episodes. I don't want to know about it. So, but yeah, so after the whole, Joel's daughter dies, and they spent, 20 years later, and he's in this city with he's working.
He's in I wrote notes. He's in Boston quarantine zone.
Yeah. And he's
QZ, otherwise known as QZ.
Yeah. So he's there, he's working, it seems everyone that's there have jobs and everything, and
he's a smuggler.
Yeah. So and you see them trying to, I guess, survive, people trying to survive in the world that they live in.
Basically what it is. Nobody has a normal life there.
Yeah. And
in the world.
Then they show a little boy kind of stumbling into this Boston QZ, and it's taken in by I guess it's the city's like
kind of like the military, whatever.
Yeah. And the lady tells him like he's safe there, and everything's gonna be okay, and everything is not gonna be okay. But
yeah. And then they noticed that he had a scratch on his pants, and she had asked him, how did this happen? And then the next thing we're seeing Joel at work, which is, I guess like the government is now like give people jobs, and his job is to like get rid of the infected bodies that the military had to kill. And that's where we get introduced to Tess, and Tess is kind of like, I guess, like a significant other, close friend.
This is partner.
Oh, right, partner, like,
you can take that different kind of ways.
Yeah. So, then we get introduced to her and her reaction. She's like opening one of the trucks up and says, I can't do this. And Joel looks over, and we see that same little boy that came into the quarantine zone is dead. And you notice it because he's wearing the same clothes. So that was also kind of like a really sad moment. It's like, man, so, I mean, they're just killing infected. They just have to do it.
There's no turning back. It's like once you get
so far.
Right.
Far.
And we should talk a little bit about like, so how do they become infected? So basically the infected are kind of like zombies, right? And they're really getting these viruses.
It's a fungus.
the
Yes.
virus started as a, yeah, it's like a natural
It's a
condition.
fungus.
So
It's called cordyceps.
yes,
Cordyceps.
and so these things kind of like infect these people, and we see that sad moment, and then we see kind of like Tess is in on certain things, like so Joel is trying to find a battery, right, for the truck to kind of keep it
So-
moving.
Yep.
To find his brother
Right.
Tommy, which he lost during like the whole scuffle when he lost his daughter. Then he kind of went missing, basically. So I was kind of like unclear. Maybe you girls like understood it better than I did, but like I was unclear about like what happened with Tess and those guys. Like she was kind of like kidnapped or whatever, and they were like beating her up. They stole her battery, but I wasn't really sure about like the relationship.
I don't think there was necessary. I think the relationship was that they're, they buy stuff or sell
And
stuff.
they can help. And they can
they,
help.
And I think she was waiting to buy a battery from them because they said they had one, and something happened, and then I guess the guy never really had it, or
Yeah.
he did have it, but he gave it away or sold it or something, and whatever. I didn't understand the whole beating up part thing because I didn't get that, but
Yeah.
that was the relationship. She was
Right.
buying something from them, and because then later on you see that she went to Joel and she said that this guy, like, he didn't have the battery, and that's when he got pissed off, and
Yeah. And she wanted him to stay calm, though, so I wasn't really sure. So she was like, oh yeah, like stay calm, because you come in there like Clint Eastwood, like he's not going to do shit for
Yeah.
us, basically.
Yeah.
So moving on, then we meet like they keep it moving, and they're trying to find their battery, and eventually they come in contact with what's known as the Fireflies. So the Fireflies are kind of like, I would describe them as a rebel group. I don't really know. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of against the military, and so they come in contact with them, and this is where we end up meeting Ellie.
Right.
So they come in contact with, they meaning Joel and Tess, come in contact with Fireflies. They decide they are having this, well, it's not even a discussion, it's kind of like a violent interaction where the lead, here's Ellie's on the ground, like there's a scuffle, and I don't know her name. Did anybody get the marshal's name? The marshal that was there at the Firefly marshal?
No.
I'm
The
calling
woman?
her a marshal. Yes.
Marlene.
So Marlene
I have
makes
notes.
good. Marlene basically makes the deal with Joel and Tess to try. She's injured and she can no longer basically care for and get Ellie to where she needs to go. Now, we're just introduced to Ellie and we're not really sure what's going on and why she's such a prize, right? And neither do Joel and Tess, right?
At that moment, yes.
At that moment. So, they're kind of like, what are you, like some bigwig's daughter or whatever? Right. And we don't find out until episode 2, where they kind of make her confess. Tess is just trying to get her to tell them what she is.
Well, they show in the first episode, they do at the end, she does show, or she does show the spot on her arm that's infected.
Yeah.
That's not really infected, but she's hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. So she looks at the marking, and she's like, does this look like it happened, recently? No, it happened, it's healed and it's happened months ago. So they are now aware that Ellie has been bitten, and she technically is infected, but not really showing any signs of change.
But she hasn't turned, and it's been a while. That's what's making her the prized possession.
Right.
She could be
So-
that. She could be the
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 antibody,
cure
right?
for the world. So they
Right.
have to keep her safe.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard about I don't know if this was verified or anything, but I was seeing stuff about this on social media on how the infection started. So apparently it had something to do with flour, like cooking flour. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it has something to do with cooking flour. I don't know how something got into the cooking flour, like
Yeah. And then it
just in
develops
general
from there.
everywhere that and so if you rewatch the first episode, or if you pay attention to the first episode, uh who the daughter Sarah, in the beginning when she went to the neighbor's house after she woke up, because everything was so quiet, and she went in, and the old lady was the one that was infected, and she killed her daughter and the son-in-law, whatever. And remember when she went to the house earlier, the
They were
daughter was
baking
baking cookies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Sarah didn't
Yeah.
eat the
So
cookies.
guys,
She didn't eat-
unfortunately, they're still telling us that cookies and pizza are gonna kill us.
Oh, it's killing them, or it's
This is some
changing them.
bullshit.
And,
My
and
favorite things are made out of flour.
I know.
and Sarah, Joel, and Tommy didn't eat
Yeah, yeah.
apparently anything that has flour in it.
Yeah.
And remember, Joel was supposed to come home, bring a cake, and he
Cake.
forgot the cake.
That's true.
So he bought home that cake and they ate the cake, they would have
probably
been gone too.
too. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting,
that is interesting. I didn't.
because
Yeah, and I just want to go back to the start of start of episode 2, which is where in Indonesia they kind of capture a professor who is studying
she's a mycologist.
Yeah, and
Mycologist.
she discovers one of the bodies that's kind of like there is like, developing this disease, infection, whatever you want to call it. And, the military guy is like, you're the expert. What do we do? Like, can we now find a cure? And she's like, there is no cure. She's kind of like very.
He said, what do you do?
She
She
was
said, bomb.
Bomb
Yeah.
this
She
whole
said,
city.
bomb this whole area. And then she's like, can I go home now? Because I want to be with my family.
Like, yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's scary.
I mean, for someone.
Like, there's no hope. There's no hope.
For like a very well educated, probably, wants the best for the world, professor, researcher who's like trying to save things and cure the world, is like, there is no cure, bomb this shit. Also, I'm going home to say goodbye to my family. So then we realized like how serious it is, right? Like,
and that part where she went to look at the body, and I was like, for a little bit I was freaking out, because I was like, this thing's gonna wake up, like I don't know what's gonna happen.
I thought so too.
Yeah, and then when she put the fingers in its mouth to get the thing, I was like, don't.
that was.
I said, don't do that, because I swore it was gonna bite down or something.
Or something was gonna come out.
But then David was like,
we've been watching too many horror movies.
He was like,
I think.
no, it was because obviously he knows about the game.
He knows it, right?
He's like, no, it was shot in the head. You can't kill the things. It's just, when you kill them, they die. They don't reanimate like that. So there was a shot in the head. So the thing is dead. So it's not gonna come back. I was like, oh, I don't know. It was like down
Well,
weird.
I know. I was worried about that too.
Yeah.
Speaking of like just kind of jumping ahead, then speaking of encountering infected, while Tess and Joel are trying to get Ellie to the quarantine zone or whatever, to the hospital or facility, they encounter a few infected. They kind of wake them up, right? Because it's one of those things where like, just be very quiet, because the infected can't see. So they thought that they can make it through. And let me tell you, when the first one popped up, I was like, super cool. Like the makeup was outstanding.
And let me tell you something, it's just like the game.
Yeah.
Like I know what it looks like, the clickers and everything, and the sound that they make, exactly the same. And I thought it was so cool how they make them like the tendrils. Like if you could be in Brooklyn, step on a tendril, and some of those things in the Bronx will wake up because they talk to each other. That's what, and that's not in the game, by the way.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
So in the game, the way you get infected is by bite, if you get bitten, or by spores. Like the spores go in the air and you can get. But so the people who made the show thought that wouldn't translate well on screen, like spores, because if spores all over the place, no one would survive. It would kind of, you know. So they made it like that, and I thought it was really cool.
Because they changed that.
Changed that because it's funny because I was thinking the same thing because I was thinking about the sports. I knew about the sports from the game, and I was like, I didn't really see them kind of flying around and floating around, and no one's talked about it. But I was like, okay, you know, I kept watching, and then I thought it was cool. They had one point that Joel had stepped on. It was kind of it was like a tendril thing, but it was dried up.
It was dried up.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, so there shouldn't be any live ones here. This has been dry for a while, you know. And I was like, oh, okay. But then when he stepped on one and all those ones that were rolling around in the courtyard woke up, I was like, oh, and they all came in the thing. And I thought, and also, I mean, again, we don't want to talk about every second of the show, but you know, they're going to find something in the city hall, right? The town hall or whatever. And they encounter some of the clickers and they have to fight them, and they're not very easy to kill. You can't.
It was the museum. I think it was the museum they were in.
The museum.
Right?
The museum. Yeah. And they're not very, they're not very easy to kill. So that was very difficult. They had to like kind of fight them, and they even tussled around with them and everything. And unfortunately Tess got hit. And she wasn't gonna make it, and she told Joel and Ellie to go, and
she told Joel, you have to save her
and protect her and everything.
You have to protect
and that's
her, you have to take her.
And then all these things are coming, right?
Yeah. So Joel like picks her up, let's go. And Ellie, for some reason, what was interesting to me, I guess because she kind of had this little moment with Tess, but she was like, we can't leave her. And he's like, he didn't even listen. And this is his partner. He was like in shock that she got bitten. You could tell for a minute, but he left her real quick. He was like, we gotta go.
Because he knows it's gonna happen. He knows.
So yeah. So and they end up getting out of there. Joel gets Ellie out of there. On they go. Tess did them all a solid and decided to, put down gasoline, throw down some grenades. She kisses. One thing that I didn't know was she kisses an infected that had like the fungus coming out of his mouth. He kissed her.
Yes.
He kissed her. And, right.
Again, in the game, those little tendrils and stuff in the mouth, that's not in the game.
Oh.
That's not in the game.
I didn't really understand, or I don't know if we need to figure this out for our next episode, but did she know that guy? Because she like paused for a minute.
I thought that
I didn't think so.
I thought that she might have known him from like whatever
because she kind of like stopped herself, and then the guy kisses her, and it's like with the thing in his mouth.
But I thought the same thing. I thought that maybe she knew him, but then when he went to kiss her, David was like, "Oh, they are trying to find different ways to spread this thing, like the infected are trying to find different ways to spread it, and they were trying. That's why it went to kiss her, and
yeah.
So that seems logical to me that's possibly what could have been. So,
but do these things think that they're attractive? I mean, come on.
No,
like
You're thinking too
I
much
don't
into
know.
this.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's what a narcissistic man, right?
They
Like,
have to.
what the
They have
fuck?
to.
So
They
you're
have
trying
to.
to stick your fungus down my throat, motherfucker. Sorry. Anyway,
They
so
have
they
to
get
do
out,
that.
right?
They have to do that for the show. They have to make this like something that people want to see and stuff. So they have to throw in these,
Yeah. So that's the end of the second episode. I just have to make one very big shout out to the music. So at the end of episode 1, they play Depeche Mode, Never Let Me Down. I just have to say it. It was amazing for me to hear Depeche Mode played, and people are talking about how like that is now going to be the new Kate Bush.
Oh, is that what
song.
I heard something mentioned about this another 80s song, on the show is
Yeah.
now like being people are
Yeah, like
noticing
listening.
it,
Yeah, listening
and
to it
it's
more.
not gonna be a big thing. I didn't know what they were talking about though. I didn't know which song they were
So
talking
basically, Ellie figures it out that whenever an 80s song comes on, it means trouble. So she's like, I've decoded it, because she's like, oh, there was this song that was playing,
Oh.
and it was Wake Me Up.
Yeah.
Wake Me Up.
Yeah, she said wake me up before you. Yes.
So that song now, what's funny to me is that song means trouble. So anything 80s means trouble. So that song,
there's gonna be a lot of 80s songs.
So that's
kinda cool, it's gonna have 80s
yeah, there's
songs.
gonna be a lot of 80s songs, which is gonna be amazing. But so that song I actually use as an alarm, and now I'm like, trouble. Yeah, that's what I'm about to get myself into. And I'm a big Depeche Mode fan, so that was a highlight for me. Bring on the 80s music. I can't wait to hear more. So that's all. That's so yes. So just so you know, 80s music, trouble.
Nice. Yep. That's awesome. All right. Yeah, this was a great discussion. So thanks everyone for listening. And as always, you can find our podcast on our YouTube channel, The Horror Flick Chicks, and we're also streaming on several audio streaming platforms. There's Sandra modeling our lovely shirt. And
I don't know where you are in the scene.
I know you're pointing the right place. And so you can check us out there, and also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's very important.
Please, yes.
And we'll be back for more episodes soon. And thanks again for listening. Until next time, this is Sonia and Sandra and Angie, and we're signing out. Peace, love, and horror.
Bye, guys.